Hello, and welcome to another Art in Conversation as part of National Association of Women Artists. Our today artist and novel member is Siena Gillan Porta. I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong. Siena, you can correct me.
No, it's fine.
And she's novel member and multidisciplinary artist, and she's here with us to talk about her artwork. Sienna, welcome to our conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, Sienna, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you started as an artist, and what type of art you're working on.
Okay. I should start with my parents were artists, so I grew up in that world, and that's a good thing and maybe not so good thing because your eyes are opened early.
Yeah, yeah, that's good, actually. So art is part of your DNA, in a sense.
Well, I thought that I was going to be a dancer or performer, and I've always loved movement. So it's reflected in most of my work when I finally, in my late teens, decided that the visual arts were becoming more and more important to me because I had always drawn and made things. So, yeah, the rest is kind of, you know,
Flow.
the difficulties and joys of being an artist in our society, 21st century. It's it's exciting, it's difficult, and if you really love what you're doing, it's wonderful. But of
Yeah,
course, we have to live. So,
exactly. And a struggle, right? So that's
okay.
something almost all artists uh,
Yeah, we
have in
cobble
common.
together complicated lives.
Yeah,
Yes.
in common. And what type of art you known with? What type of art you identify with most?
Well,
Because
yeah,
I see in your website you have different type of art. So
yeah.
which one is you more?
I have to say, fundamentally, it's really a search for meaning that communicates to others, obviously, in figuration to a great degree. Um, Yeah, it's the internal search that we all have, looking for meaning in the world we live in a practical way.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Yes. And so this, you put it into different media, right?
Oh, yes.
Because if you don't mind, I want just to start with your website before we go to see the one you selected to talk. So as you see your website, right? I have it here in this.
Yes. Yeah. Huh?
And so you have installation, you have painting, you have a sculpture, you have drawing.
Okay.
Which one is your main work?
I cannot say. I have to
Oh,
say it's all the same.
okay.
It really
So
is.
it's just how
I,
you choose, like for example, when you come with the subject, then you have a new subject. How you decide which one you want to do? You want to do it a painting or you want to make a sculpture?
can I give you a quick background about how this happened?
Yeah, oh that awesome. Yeah.
Okay, so um, as a student, I was fascinated with media, every kind of media, painting, drawing, clay, metals, plastic. I wanted to know, how does this work? How can I make this happen? And I do think in 3D. So at first I thought, well, sculpture, and I got my MFA in sculpture. But all the time I was drawing and painting. And then after teaching and doing illustrations and graphic design and what have you, which is all two-dimensional, I taught as an adjunct instructor, and they threw everything at me. So I thought, well, this is interesting, but it's not really financially that viable. So I took an exam with the United Scenic Artists Local 829, which is a huge uh, consortium of unions across the country. But in New York, really, there's only, five or 600 members that work all the time. And I got in. It's very, well, when I got in, it was in the 1980s. It was highly competitive. And I was very lucky. I landed drop work, which is the backdrops for the Metropolitan Opera. I did huge sculptures. I learned so much about media through that job, which was 3 decades plus. And because of that, I thought, wow, there's no boundaries here. I can play with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when you open your wing, right? And you play with every media. Because I was checking your website and I saw all this beautiful work. I said,
Well, thank
goodness
you.
gracious, you just do, you almost do everything and you do everything perfect. It's not that you're good in something and less good another. I checked all your website and I went through all your artwork and I saw all this beautiful work. I
Well,
said,
that's all scenic artwork, and it's huge, most of it, and it was a lot of fun. I was very lucky. I worked with wonderful people. Um, so this is principally what I did, to make a living. But
yeah.
basically, yes, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm,
Or your installation. I see you have indoor and outdoor
oh
installation.
yes, I do. Okay, so I'm also the president of a consortium of artists called 14 Sculptors Inc. We used to be 14 Sculptors Gallery in Soho for many years. And it was through that gallery where I started making very big indoor work that after we disbanded as a gallery, we were offered outdoor installation work. And I'm trying to think of the name, I can't. It's a pretty well known uh, organization, Salem Artworks. So we
Okay.
showed up there. I mean, and it opened it up for all of us who are members that, hey, we can do big outdoor work. And that was a challenge,
Yeah.
specifically the one you're looking at right now. Um, is a very large installation that was done through a grant through the New York Art in the Parks program. It was a competitive grant, and some of our members wrote the proposal, got the space, and we had a fabulous show up on the beach there in Rockaway. Uh,
Wow.
and this piece is really about saving the whales.
Yeah.
But this is painted. I cut everything out in our studio. My husband is also, he's an artist and a scientist. We have a plasma cutter, so I cut everything out with um, of aluminum and then painted it with an outdoor oil-based paint, and it's lasted. Uh, anyway,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, beautiful work. I mean, so it's just like curious to see, like, how you do all this. I see, like, you do small work and you do larger scale work. So
It's a
this
big
is,
one.
yeah. All right, so let's review some of the work, at least the one you selected for our today. And then maybe if we have time, we can go back to your website and see more of each category. So, yeah, Miss, I leave it to you to explain some of your work that you selected here.
Um, well, you want me to talk about this particular?
Yeah, I mean, for example, what is this artwork? I mean, I see this is an installation. So is that the painting also part of this installation, part of
Yes,
this?
it's meant when you walk into the gallery. I showed this at NoHo in 2003, NoHo Gallery. I'm still a member, actually. So yes, this is a big painting that I did on acrylic sheet. And that's in itself something that I learned to do as a scenic artist. Um, and that's basically a landscape of Iceland, where both my husband and I, we were lucky to have spent a lot of time. Um, and the figure seated is a woman sitting in meditation. And the figures in front, as you can see, are very dissonant with the nice, quiet meditation figure in the background. They're shooting at
Yes.
television sets, and you have to wonder, well, what's that about?
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of people, interestingly, they don't know the story behind it, which I feel rather private about. But nonetheless, people respond very deeply. One woman came in and said, "That's my life." And I thought, oh, how interesting, because it is all of our lives. And it resonates. It resonated with quite a few people, and I showed it also at Ramapo College, where I taught for 12 or 13 years. While
Well, I'm living close to Ramapo. What? In
I'm
Mahwah?
I'm sorry.
I said Ramapo in Mahwah. Mahwah is a city
Oh
of
yes,
Mahwah. Yeah, I'm living close by. I'm living in Franklin, like so just
oh, they have a wonderful curator and two galleries there.
oh,
And anyway, I was in the main gallery with some other artists who were showing, teaching and showing at that time. And yeah, students really responded
yeah.
positively.
Yeah, means I understand. I mean, when we make art, we make it for based on our own story, our own feeling, but always like, you can see people relate to art. They interpret it based on their own stories, based on their own life. So that's about art, Everybody can observe and create their own observation.
Yes, and I mean this one is personal, but it is also so universal. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't live this life alone.
Yeah, exactly. And what's the medium of the sculpture, the lady and the
The sculpture itself, I carved out of a dense polyprop foam, which is a very, very fine, hard foam. It's like carving a soft wood almost. And
okay,
and then I had a technician come and shoot a polyurethane thin plastic over it. We all had to stand back. We did it outside. It's probably not terribly environmentally friendly, but it is inert. I mean, it's completely inert.
okay,
Yeah, and the same with the figures, which are
okay.
treated, as you may notice, in a very different manner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But very interesting. I mean, the way you put all this together and how they goes. Is it the part of a series with the painting in the background or all
Yes,
related to one?
I conceived of this from a small sketch, and
Okay.
it is an installation. I mean, the whole piece, it never is seen separately. It's a,
Yes.
yeah,
All
because
right.
the backdrop creates this lovely, quiet feeling of
Okay.
peace, and then you have these guys in the front, right?
Yeah, and then the lady itself, which is she
And
meditate to
yeah,
that beauty, to
this is
that
all of us.
landscape,
This
to
is
that piece.
she's all of us.
Yes. Yeah.
This is our internal quiet self that knows a lot, and the outside world, which is really not separate, and
Yeah.
we have to deal with that. Yeah.
True. True. And so you went from that to karate. So
Well,
I mean, I saw you have a series of that, and then, I like karate because my daughter play karate. So I just saw that. I said, you painting meditation and then you painting martial art.
that's the interesting thing
Yeah.
because I mean I'm a martial artist practitioner in the form of Kimura Shikokai, which is out of a Japanese tradition.
Hmm.
And in fact, my youngest son is a fifth degree black belt in the form.
Okay.
And it's so I watched a lot of these for many years and drew the figures, and I was fascinated, with the interaction. But quite honestly, this first figure in pink, he's
Okay.
the head of the United States Kimura Shikokai form, and and yet if you look at this, it's very meditative painting because he's doing a kata, and
Okay.
a kata is a string of fighting techniques, but it takes a lot of focus to remember the movements and to do them properly, and also to find the meaning behind them. So it's, in a sense, a movement meditation. Although you could say, well, people are fighting. I mean, how can that be? But in fact, all of life, and goes right back to the other sculpture we were looking at, it's interaction, and it is not necessarily always confrontational. Uh,
Exactly.
so that's a question for all of us because we
Yes.
all, yeah.
Yeah, means everything is come within us. Peace and also the moment of challenge. So from challenge, peace rises. From peace, challenge rises. And so this is also it makes sense. But in terms of movement and thing, because this is something I don't know much. I know my daughter play martial art, but myself not. So it's just a question. I mean, you yourself, because you are in a field, you know the movement. So therefore, you can interpret this movement better than anybody else. You know.
Well, I've learned a lot, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, from doing it. It helps tremendously. When I was drawing and doing quick paintings before I had studied this form, I observed well, but I didn't quite understand a lot of the movement. But these paintings were when I first, the one on the left is when I had just begun actually, and the one on the right is a later painting.
Yeah, probably when you know it and you practice it yourself, it help you with the drawing too.
Oh, tremendously.
For the line on an arm or the body, how they should be, right? Because you practice it and you know what's happening in every moment. Yeah, it really makes sense. I mean, for example, for me, even if I take picture, I won't be able to draw it accurately because I don't know what's happening,
Uh, yeah,
you know? So even though I see a picture, it's just a copy. But
yeah,
when you know it and you practice it yourself, you know the movement.
absolutely. That's
Yeah,
very true.
very interesting. And then again, from painting to more sculpture. So, and I see that the reason you said you performer, you movement, I see there is this movement, always action within your work somehow.
Well, this comes from actually work I was doing. This work is later from a show that I had. All of figures, all with draped fabric or hanging fabric or wrapped figures. But I had done dissection at Hershey Medical College on a Pennsylvania Arts Central Arts Grant, decentralization Arts Grant, uh, with a professor there at Penn State, and I was fascinated with what's the surface morphology of the body and how do these muscles work. And I'm so glad that I did that. It helped tremendously. But I have to say, it was also kind of, I guess medical students must go through this too. It's a little creepy to see people, you know, its bodies dissected, and then they're wrapped in these white sheets. And I know the fabric had something to do with the bodies later. Uh, yeah, if
Yeah.
that's any help.
So, what's the story of this particular piece?
Well, this is interesting because at this period of time in my life, I was thinking about getting married for the second time. Um, they're playing with fabric, a man and a woman. So it's like, where do we go from here? Do we hang up this stuff or do we pack it up or do we make a tent together? It could mean so many things.
Okay.
I also just love the way it looks. Uh,
But you should have I mean, I'm sure there is a concept come with it because when you want to, for example, to put these two together, like the figures and the fabric, you have a story in your mind.
oh, the narrative. Well,
Yeah, a narrative, right?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was basically I couldn't include all the other pieces, but from this series, but there was a woman hanging from the ceiling like this, wrapped in sheets. And
Okay.
that was sort of like a chrysalis. This is coming to the place of, oh, I'm in a relationship. What do I do with it? All this stuff hanging.
Okay.
The fabric, it falls so beautifully and it's so amorphous. And it can be a shelter, it can be a confusion, it can be a challenge. It's somewhat metaphorical.
Oh, right, exactly, because it can shape differently, as you said. You can wrap it around you, or you can shelter it, or you can fold it and put it in your luggage, right?
That's
That's
true.
our life, which is can shape
And,
any way
and
we
we live
want.
in fabric.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that's true. That's
Clothing.
true. Yeah. I mean, that's our clothes actually gave us personality, right? So the same thing, the story also the same.
And they don't have any clothes.
Yeah. But so you use it for different purpose, for different story, to tell this story of our life, or your life or everybody's life, right?
Everybody's life.
What this fabric can be used for. Are they gonna make clothes or they gonna make shelter, right? If an observer like me, I see it without knowing what the subject, what the story is. I can interpret it, what they're doing with this, right?
Yeah,
Because that's something you can shape it any way you want.
very true.
That's yeah, I mean most of your work I think is in this theme that everybody can interpret it or analyze it the way they want.
Oh, yes. Well,
That's about this movement.
so this is interesting. This is a more recent piece. It's outdoors. I put the little figure here with me down there looking at it. It's actually it's about the right ratio.
Right. Okay.
Um, but I've been a meditator for many years in American Zen Buddhist tradition. And this directly relates to what I wrote here about the Buddhist Diamond Sutra, which is what you see is not necessarily what there is. Because when the light goes through this, it's an outdoor installation, or you could have it indoors with a strong light over it. But I like the fact that it kind of is a kinetic sculpture outside because the light changes all the time. So the shadows change all the time. And that's our life story changes all the time.
Mhm.
In this case, it's all conditioned existence is to be seen really as a phantom or an illusion or a dream. That sounds a little unrealistic, but truthfully, I think, well, I happen to believe that this is very true. Um, there's an old Zen koan story about is it the moon or the finger pointing at the moon? Meaning you get in your own way all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and as you said, like, as the light every time change during the day or night, so our life change every moment, right? And moment to moment could be, so different. So that's the idea, right? As you see how the reflection change, so our life change.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And is this just one? Because in your website, I think that's just different view of that this installation, or it's a series.
I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
said, is this part of a series, or because in your website you have a couple of images of this particular installation. I said, is this an installation, only one installation, or one sculpture, or
Oh,
part of
it's
a
only
series?
one sculpture. I showed two images to show how different it looks from different angles.
Okay, different angles, right? Yes. Is this still on view somewhere, or
It may be going, if we're lucky, 14 Sculptors has just written a proposal for the Brooklyn Botanical Garden. And if I'm lucky, uh, because we would love to show there. So we will do some outdoor work and indoor work, and I've chosen to show this.
wow, very interesting. And then, so is this oh yeah, the material set from steel, so something that easily can use as
Okay, so it is a steel constructed frame, which I had to get someone to help me with. And I did all of the laser cutting is from, online. I scoped out, I did a drawing and then printed it up so that the company could laser cut my choice of acrylic. And it's fluorescent acrylic, by the way. So it has an extra glow to it. And the base is something called HVLP, high density. It's a high density plastic.
plastic? Okay, high density plastic. Yeah, I understand.
Oh,
And so it's not heavy, therefore. So it's
it's
just
very heavy.
it's heavy. Okay.
I had to
Just
get help installing this thing. And underneath this is a wooden frame 6 inches around that keeps it up off the ground.
all right.
Yeah, it's very technical. I
Yeah.
love it here.
Yeah, so you need a lot of help to even,
Yeah.
maneuver and move stuff around or create it.
Um,
All
but
right. So, and then painting
it is,
and yeah.
it's big. You can see. It's let's see, um, not quite 7 feet. It actually is, but when I'm wrapping it around the frame, it's going to be 68 inches. And it's not 48, it's actually 54 when I wrap it. but it doesn't matter. Yes, so I did this after I had chemotherapy the second time. I've had breast cancer twice. I'm very lucky.
Oh, okay.
Stage one, so I'm 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 good
Okay, you cute. So.
for now. But this is when I lost my hair, and I thought, wow, I look like a Buddhist nun.
You are actually. If I didn't know the story, that would be my assumption.
This is going into a show with the New York Society of Women Artists. And it's a wonderful organization. It's been around for 100 years. We're having a centennial. Well, we've already had a centennial, the Interchurch Center up in Riverside Drive, Treasure Room Gallery. Just broke down last week. Was up for 3 months. I didn't have this piece in it. I had another piece. But this will go into Ceres Gallery for a month with this group, and
Okay.
a smaller version, unfortunately. But I'm having a solo show at the end of September through 3 weeks in October at NoHo M55 Gallery.
Okay. Oh, Ceres Gallery, actually, it's I'm familiar. I had showed there previously, but
Right. Yeah, it's a nice space where they moved. Anyway, so I'll be in that show with a smaller version of this painting, 32 by 40 inches. But to
oh,
talk about the painting, yeah, I thought it was like really
a journey, a part of your life. And so I see it, you know. I mean, if I don't read the title and know, I just think something to do with meditation, something to do with Buddhism, as you said.
yeah.
But you know, it's really touching story because as I see and I observe more of your work, I see that you kind of play with life, different moment in life, right? Different stage of life. So this is itself, it's a stage of your life.
And I hope it speaks to a lot of women who've been
Yeah.
through this.
Yes. I'm sure many people relate to this painting, to
I
this
think so.
particular.
And let me just say, the strange dark image up above her head there. Right.
Okay.
That is a painting, actually, by a friend who is no longer with us. He died at 100. A man who was a wonderful artist. And this painting, if you look carefully, I tried to somewhat reproduce it as carefully as I could. It's little blobs on the bottom, and then it becomes these deer, and then at the top it turns into more obvious deer
Okay.
running. And it's
Yeah, I see the deer here.
yeah, and it's a really interesting painting because my husband and I went to a show. We saw the painting, we wanted to buy it, we bought it, and our friend who's older than us, he said, "I'm so glad you bought that one. It's one of my favorites." And it's like again, it's the same thing. It's going through life. You start out as an amorphous person, as a baby, perhaps. All of life started out in the oceans like in the womb, and we continue. And
And
I,
until you shape, until you create your life, right? You kind of come out of cocoon.
yeah, so,
Right?
and then we turn into full grown humans if we're lucky, and, and then we're off the scene.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, like, and I see how it's related to this particular painting, right? Because this is again one of those stage, one of those part which is you become who you are today, and so that's a portion of it.
This is scenic artwork, as it says. Okay. Um, the Christ figure on the left, the commission was through a company called Scenic Art Studios that I worked for through our union. And I was requested to carve what's called a living Christ in the 15th century Italian style. I said, okay, fine. So
Yeah.
that's the same procedure that I used for the woman meditating. It's the figure is about 7 feet tall, by the way, and it is in bas relief. It's not a complete figure. It hangs on a cross. The arms have to be removed because they put it away. They put it up every 6 weeks, and then they put it away for the rest of the year. So to store it, they had to make it a smaller
Okay.
piece. So that was really challenging to carve it and then cut it and then put the foam and then
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a lot of fun with it.
All right. And what's this image next to it?
Okay, this is was for Dirty Rotten Scoundrels redo as a musical in
Oh,
the early 2000s, and it made the rounds of repertory theaters, big theaters, small theaters. It was it's part of the set. It's painted on scrim. It's like 12 feet high, 6.5 feet wide, and you just stand there and paint. Of course, you use a pattern. I had to make, you know, and redraw that. But I painted it in the color that we use that has a lot of dye in it, which makes it so vibrant.
yeah. You use William Morris.
Pardon?
I said you use William Morris pattern on the background.
Yes. So it was from the designer. This is
Yeah.
his design. I was the technician in this case.
Yeah. I mean, it's because William Morris was a designer and architect, and I mean that's it.
So he took the William Morris, and actually this is from a oh gosh, a 16th, 15th century angel by I'm not sure who. Quite famous, probably. Yeah, and he merged the two and he said, okay, that's the image I want. So
Yeah, well, beautiful, nice. And I see like, all these two in one place, display in one place or part of one installation, the Christ and this
yeah,
artwork.
on the stage with everything else. It's
Okay.
essentially, yeah, just part of the scenery.
All right. Okay. And this is another installation, a sculpture and installation.
Yeah,
What's the story? Why there is this giant artwork with this
this is
tiny?
not big, not big. This is really 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. Um, I did a whole mirror box series. I haven't included any of the other ones. This is the only one I could include because I have so much work. I mean, I didn't know what to choose, but this is very contemporary. Uh, and if you read this, it's about the experiment in quantum mechanics, where the cat's in a box and it's got a 50% chance of living or dying. So
Uh-huh.
I related that very much to the experiment of chemotherapy and radiation because you don't know if you're going to come out of it or not, right?
Wow. Okay.
So we as the cat, uh, see, my cat escaped.
Yeah.
So but as you can see, there's a mirror in between. On one side, it looks like one vision. On the other side, it looks like another. No
Yeah.
cat got splattered all over the place, right? Well,
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
so it's a tense but interesting piece, I think.
Yeah, it's very interesting, very actually touching stories. And again, I like the way you relate it to yourself. And why the flowers and the vase are much larger than the
So that's an interesting question. When you go into most hospitals to be treated in the United States, they make an attempt to make everything look sort of nice, but it never really quite is. And you feel very dwarfed, at least I
Oh,
always, by everything. And the poor little cat is so much smaller than the pot of flowers.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, if you were a person to come across something so monolithic, it looks nice, but what is it? And it was also the attempt that most hospitals have wonderful people who really care, and then you try, but it's very intimidating. So this is, in a weird way, it's like the facade of they're going to help me, maybe. I want to believe it, but you're frightened.
You feel small at that moment.
Yes, you feel
Yeah,
small.
you feel
Well
small.
put.
I love the way I love the way you see things, and this
Okay.
is I wouldn't guess it at all, but when you explain this and I see it now, right? You feel small when you see in that moment.
No,
And you feel in box, and how you coming out of it or not coming out of it. And this beautiful, I love the way you interpret it. This beauty, this vase, the beautiful flowers. But
which become blood.
yeah, yeah, which is fun. But how you feel small.
Yeah, well, it's a personal symbolism, and I think artists do have to be careful with that. But if you can make it a sort of universal understood language with things that are everyday, like flowers, cats, mirrors, um,
Box.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
yeah. Everybody can rely on. Yeah, I understand. It's really actually touching and interesting the way you present all those feelings.
So this was recently shown again with 14 Sculptors Group um, in a show called Fire Dash Haiku. And we each chose a haiku that resonated with us or wrote one, and then made a piece of artwork that reflected the meaning for us of that haiku. Haiku are very visual. They're just a little blip, a little moment in time. And for me, this piece, I love this piece. It's very new. So, of course, I love it. We're all that way. Yeah, it's little delicate pieces of tape that is shiny, like metallic tape, and
Okay.
I strung it on very thin fishing line, and I weighted it down with little pieces of metal. But it's so tenuous and so delicate. And then there's this solid bowl that emanates light out from it. So, and a beautiful piece of that's birch bark that I found. You think, what is that? Uh, so I'm going to read the haiku. Campfire extinguished, the woman washing dishes in a pan of stars. If you turn the lights off in a gallery, all you see is the little light from the bowl illuminating the shiny pieces of tape, and it's reminiscent of stars. And for me, it was a very evocative image called an experience I had during a meditation week when I used to be able to do that. Um, so I was holding up a bowl
Yeah.
of orange juice, and reflected in it was all these beautiful patterns. And I'm thinking, where's this coming from? And I just looked up, and there was this light fixture up above me. But it was one of those pivotal moments where something's just beautiful.
Yeah. So
Beautiful.
so now where the light coming from in this piece?
Well, that's interesting. It's coming from below. Although
Oh,
you could say the stars are coming down, and
okay.
the bowl of water that she's washing the dishes in is also reflecting the stars. You don't know. It's like
Oh,
the same thing, I suppose, in a lot of my work. It's
yeah.
one side, the other side. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how you put all this together. I mean, it's just like you have a beautiful mind, like a machine that you can just create and put things together and piece things together. So,
Okay, back to portraits. I see what you mean. I do bounce around, don't I? Well,
yeah, me too.
this was my teacher, my Zen teacher. She has since passed away, but she was an amazing woman herself, really remarkable. And she came out of a Japanese meditation tradition in her 40s. I mean, she didn't practice until she had four children, a divorce, and she had been a pianist, and she had a lot to deal with. Anyway,
Yeah.
I met her when she was in her 60s, and she passed away in her 90s um, in 2011, I think. But yeah, I learned a great deal from her and from the community that she, um, well, grew up sort of around her. She wasn't what I call a sage on a stage. She was a person who really did not want to be important. She was really there for others. And at the same time, uh, her life's work was very genuinely helpful to so many people in their daily lives. So this portrait was sort of in honor of her having been in my life. And it's on mirrored acrylic, which is very nice medium because it's painting on plastic, yeah, but it emanates light from the back, which is what she did. And
Mhm.
then the portrait of my husband, portrait of Robert, another complicated person. And I just had a lot of fun trying to get a quality of who he is. I love portraiture when it's, um, when you get a feeling of the person and who they are. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
And I like actually that how you connect all these things together and everything in every media you did, they are very smartly presented and very meaningful, either your portrait or your installation. And again, back to martial art, which is, I say again, love. I mean, and the thing, another thing about you that you experiment all those beside, you just representing and painting and creating. Those are the things that come from within you.
I'm deeply invested, yes, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, investment. Yeah, true, true. So I know, I mean, our time almost finished. I mean, it's been finished for a while, 30 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about that. So, and I really enjoy your work. I enjoy seeing all this beautiful work and then how you piece things together and how everything coming to life in a sense and how you invest and experiments with things. And so, Sienna has a beautiful website, as I actually played at the beginning, and many of our works are here, which is beautifully actually also represent. Sienna, before we finish our work, do you have any last word for our fellow artists and NOVA member?
Have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, have fun.
Have fun and create. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sienna. I really enjoy your work and your beautiful stories. It was really delighted. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.